Today, I'm gonna draw this image using the 2018 iPad Pro, Apple Pencil, and Procreate. Let's get to it. What is up, guys? Andrew here, and welcome to Comicbooker, all things comics from a creator. I'm more than halfway through watching WandaVision, and man, this show is unbelievable. From the acting to the story construction to the comics Easter eggs here and there, Marvel Studios' first big TV show for 2021 is nothing short of tremendous. I've drawn the two principal characters before, but I figured it's time to draw them together. There's a bittersweet quality to all of it that reminds me of one of my favorite paintings ever, Gustav Klimt's The Kiss. Originally called Liebespaar, German for the lovers, this oil and gold leaf painting was created between 1907 and 1908 and is considered one of the most important symbolist pieces in art history. I think this painting really captures the vibe of the romantic fantasy at the heart of WandaVision. So I'm gonna match it up with these Marvel characters and see what comes out. Let's get started. First things first, let's assemble some reference. I've taken a bunch of screenshots and images from the web, and I'm assembling them onto a reference board using this iPad app called Vizref. I have the Klimt painting up, some stills from the show, and images of the Jack Kirby and John Buscema costumes to look at. I'm gonna have Vizref open in split view with my drawing program Procreate so that I can always look at my references while drawing. Now to dig in. I'm throwing down a mid-tone background color and then drawing basic shapes on top of it. It's a hyper-saturated blue to give it an intensely wishful feeling. Since I really want people to think of the kiss when they see this, it's really important to get the shapes right. Once I have the shapes down, I lower the opacity and start drawing over it on another layer. I consider this the pencil stage, so I'm not too worried about the finish of the piece. I'm more focused on getting all the elements working together, especially the anatomy. Now, this isn't going to play by the same anatomical rules as my other drawings. It's much more graphic and shape-oriented because of the Klimt influence. So I'm adapting the anatomy I would normally do to fit into the expressive language of the kiss, keeping in mind that all the right parts still have to be there, even if they're bent, squeezed, or stretched out. Now it's time for some inking. I'm using Kyle T. Webster's Too Smooth to Be Forgotten brush, which is currently my favorite Photoshop brush for inking. Back in December of 2019, Procreate added support for importing ABR format brushes. So even though Webster is now exclusively making brushes for Adobe, I can still use his brushes in Procreate. I'm relying on this to get the boundaries of my shapes right, because that's the main foundation for the color. Alright, we're past the halfway mark on this piece. Now that the drawing is established, I'm going to duplicate the line work and use the lower layer as my basis for flats. I'm carefully choosing base hues and color dropping them into the shapes I've made, creating these big blocks of color that I'm going to paint over. With main color areas established, I start breaking the borders between them. I want the scarlet color of the cape to run over onto the grass, almost like wet paint or blood. I also want the Vision's cape to run a bit, perhaps partially phasing through Wanda and partially fraying at the edges. I'm sampling Wanda's colors and using them to create flowers in the field, and then I'm bringing them up into Vision's cape. This is where I want to start painting in all those swirls that give Klimt's painting so much visual texture. I also like how these swirls evoke a sense of hypnosis, like we've all fallen under some kind of spell. Okay, that's looking good, and it's time to start beefing up the flower field. My main goal is to get some contrast so that it really looks full and vibrant. So I bring in some darker green tones as a base. I'm grabbing one of the default Procreate brushes, Aurora, and spatter in the green colors from Vision's costume into the field. He's a part of this fantasy world, and I wanted to reflect him. Now it's time to get some of those rectangular shapes in. The end credits of WandaVision feature tons of RGB pixels whirling around into shapes, and I want to bring that into this piece. Coincidentally, red, green, and blue are also the different types of cones in the human eye that allow us to see color. Not sure how that's super relevant, but I thought of it while making this piece. I've decided that all the squares adorning Vision's cape will be warping pixels of different sizes, which gives me 3 main colors to play with. I have to be careful though not to overdo it because I still want the cape to read as yellow. Alright, it's looking good, but a bit too flat, so I'm putting in a new layer to get some darker values in. I want a slight sense of dimensionality, so I need shadows to make it pop. I add in a bit of an ochre wash to unify some of the details at the edge of Vision's cape. I also want to get the Scarlet Witch's expression right here. She's happily submitting in this romantic fantasy. Vision's expression is a little more inscrutable as he leans in to kiss her, and Wanda is blushing a bit, maybe blissfully unaware of how much of all of this is just a fanciful recreation. A few more swirls, some squares and filigree, and we're more or less ready for finishing touches. I duplicate the pixel layer on the background and apply a layer filter on it called Chromatic Aberration, which will give it an extra haze of unreality. Next, I throw down some scattered values in the background and apply another layer filter called Glitch on it, which will give us that feeling of TV static. Lastly, I use the default luminance brushes to add a bit of sparkle to this piece. And voila! All done! I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe picked up a tip or two from it. One more thing before I go, so YouTube won't give me live stream functionality until I hit 1,000 subscribers. It's just kind of the way the system works right now. So please, if you can, please subscribe to my channel. I don't super care if I get more than 1,000 subscribers, but I really want to be able to live stream my drawings. So yeah, please help me out if you can. That's all for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.